Hey everybody, I'm Chef Tom with atbbq.com, and today I'll be making chorizo from scratch and then putting together some chorizo breakfast burritos. To kick this whole thing off, we're going to start on the chorizo and making the paste that's going to be mixed into our ground pork. Now this all starts with guajillo chilies. These are dried guajillo peppers. I'm going to take the stems off here. We'll discard those. You can get rid of the seeds from the inside as well. Then next we're going to toast these chilies. So you're just going to place them on, in this case, a griddle, a dry hot griddle, or in a skillet. You could be doing this on any kind of a grill. Today we're using Griddle, which is a great surface for cooking on outdoors, a big open space, a big griddle to cook on. But you could be doing this on a Weber kettle, in a skillet. You could do this on your Yoder, set up indirect again with just like a big 12-inch Lodge skillet. You can do this on pretty much any grill you want to. The idea here is to get a little bit of color on these chilies over medium-ish heat, medium high. They're already becoming fragrant. It's going to start to make the chili more pliable and start to soften it up. So they're gonna puff just a little bit as they get toasted. You can actually feel that they've toasted a little bit as well. They're very hot, don't leave your finger on there too long. But they're opening up, becoming more aromatic. You probably only need to do this for about 30 to 60 seconds on each side. All right, so once you got a good toast on these, you're just gonna keep it in your skillet. If you're already cooking in a skillet, if you're on a griddle, move it to a skillet and add some water. You want enough water to cover these up. And what we're doing now is we're rehydrating. So we're bringing moisture back into the chilies. So throw a lid on there and keep that heat on high until it comes up to a boil, at which point you can turn it off and just let them sit in there for about 20 minutes and really soak up that hot liquid. So we got to the boil. I'm gonna leave that covered, and I'm just gonna pull the whole thing off the griddle. While we let those peppers rehydrate, I'm gonna prepare the rest of the ingredients for our chorizo base that we're gonna add to the meat. I'm gonna dice up about a half cup of yellow onion. And then we'll just begin to incorporate or mix all of these ingredients together in our blender. Next we have about 2 tablespoons of minced garlic. Next we have a 1/4 cup of apple cider vinegar. I'm gonna add 2 tablespoons of our carne asada, the 8-second ride from Cattleman's Grill. So this will get us some heat and some savory. We need a little bit more salt, so I'm gonna go with a tablespoon of smoked salt, and then a teaspoon each of cumin, Mexican oregano, and just a pinch, about 1/8 of a teaspoon really, of cinnamon. So here we have our rehydrated chilies. Great earthy aroma coming off of these. And I'm just gonna give them a rough chop before we throw them in the blender. All right, so we'll get it on the Vitamix here. Start it slow. So our chorizo base here, you can see it's kind of thick. It's still got a little bit of texture to it, but almost like a ketchup consistency. What I have here is 1 pound of ground pork. Now this pork was ground from spare ribs, rib tips actually, from trimming out St. Louis style spare ribs. You could use pork butt as well. You could even use store-bought ground pork, but I will advise that most of the time it doesn't quite have the same fat content, so it ends up drying out a little bit easier. This right here was ground with a 4.5 millimeter die a couple times through. You just want something nice and fine. So I'm gonna add to that our chorizo base. And I mentioned this is 1 pound. If you want to, make 5-10 pounds of this at a time. It'll keep in the freezer, but for what we're doing here today, just 1 pound is what we're making. All right, so just gonna gently mix this in. I'm not gonna try to work that meat too much and melt the fat out of there. You're gonna have a fairly wet chorizo here, but that's kind of how Mexican chorizo goes. Try and get this all fully incorporated. Shouldn't see any light pink spots. Everything's turned this kind of dark red color. All right, and that's chorizo. It's ready to go on the griddle. We'll start with a layer of vegetable oil before we get our chorizo down. Nice sizzle. So you're going over medium heat now. Whether you're in a lodge skillet or on a griddle yourself. And then same time, we're gonna get some onions down as well. I love a soft griddled onion for the burrito. Get a little bit of that cattleman's carne on there as well for some extra flavor. So medium to medium high heat on the onions. Gosh, the aroma coming off this griddle is just incredible right now. To expedite this process, help these cook down a little faster, we're just gonna cover them up with a bowl. Trap some of that heat in there. We're looking at our chorizo, we're starting to get some browning going on. The texture of this is changing, so we can tell that it's really starting to get cooked through. We're going over medium heat here, so we're rendering out some fat without putting a ton of color on it. And that's fine. We're gonna add some extra texture to this breakfast burrito with some hash browns here in a little bit. Speaking of those hash browns, let's go ahead and get this potato prepped up so that we're ready to go on the griddle as soon as the other stuff comes off. We're starting with a russet potato, skin on or off. That's for you to decide. So we get this thing broken down, and you'll notice just how sopping wet this potato is. So what we're gonna do from here is transfer this over to a clean towel. This would be like a potato sack. You could use cheesecloth or just a thin, clean tea towel or something like that. Just start to twist, give a good squeeze. Look at all of that moisture coming out of there. It'd be really difficult to get a crispy surface on your hash browns if you don't get rid of some of this moisture. So here's what we're left with. Already dried out, and that can go on the griddle just the way it is. Oh yeah, we got some nice browning on the bottom now. Just a little bit of texture, that's nice. This is fully cooked through now. This is just like browning ground beef or something like that. So we're gonna take this off the skillet. We'll get ready to do some hash browns and eggs. All right, these onions are looking pretty good too. I think it's about time to pull them off. For this next round, I'm gonna be doing hash browns on one half and eggs on the other. So I'm adjusting my burners so that I've got a hotter side. We're running medium high for the hash browns, and then all the way down on low for the eggs, which can cook a little more gently. So put some oil down for our hash browns. We might just divide these up into a couple of groups so they're easier to flip and move around. Spread them out into an even layer. Let's get some seasoning on these as well. I'm gonna go with some grunt rub, the Code 3 Spices grunt rub, for that garlic flavor. It's got some salt in it too. So now we've got some nice garlicky hash browns. And then we're gonna put down our eggs. Just whip these with a fork. Hope those don't travel too far. We're not gonna do much to these eggs. We'll just add a little bit of smoked salt. And then as the bottom starts to set, just scoop and flip. So those won't take long at all. I'm gonna add a little bit of cotija cheese to this as well. Nice funkiness and a slight saltiness. Let's check out the hash browns. Getting some nice brown on there. Could use a little more. And pretty much as soon as you get these flipped, they're gonna be about done. So go ahead and take them off before they get dried out. And this looks really good, this browning on top. Still tender, but got nice crispiness. Time to pull those off. We've got all these components ready to go. It's time to stuff our tortillas and get our burritos griddled off. Just gonna start by laying these on the dry griddle with a little bit of pepper jack cheese. So hopefully we can get that to kind of melt in there. We're going low heat now. All right, I'm gonna come in here with some hash browns now. We get some scrambled eggs. Griddled onions. Chorizo. And I'm gonna brighten it all up and tie it together with some green-aid. Just a great tangy green sauce. Should be a nice contrast to that earthy chorizo. Got a little bit of vinegar to it. Nice, we're just starting to get some color on the outside here. Gonna roll this guy up. And we'll finish it just like that. Can never seem to not stuff my burritos too full. Here's a trick I'd like to learn. All right, got a nice little crisp all the way around. These guys are done. Beautiful. I'm ready to dig into this. Get a little bit of salsa on here too. Man, like a flavor bomb, just so tasty. That chorizo is unique. When you make it homemade, it's so much better than the store-bought stuff. I love that little bit of crunch that's coming off the hash browns. That's always welcome. And the way that interacts with that gooey cheese just melting right into the outside. Sauce is where it's at too. That home's made stuff, fantastic. Wouldn't want to do a breakfast burrito without it. Save one for Justin. He's been working hard. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Be sure to check out atbbq.com for all of the products featured in today's recipe. If you enjoyed the video, please hit that subscribe button. And if you have any questions or comments, or there's anything you'd like to see me cook, let me know in the comment section down below, and let's be good to one another. For more recipes, tips, and techniques, head over to thesauce.atbbq.com. All things barbecue, where barbecue legends are made.